Hey there, welcome to SharkCast Pod, a podcast dedicated to the greatest sporting club in the history of the entire world. I'm Sam Shinazzi, OG 2015, and with me on the show today, brought to you by Dyson Logistics, the Royal Motor Yacht Club in Port Hacking, and Jason Hawes of Crips and Crips Real Estate, is the club historian, all-round legend, Mr. Ash Taylor. Welcome back, sir.
Hey, Sam, thanks for having me.
How are you? What's going on?
Yeah, good. No, busy. Gearing up for the season that is nearly upon us. It's, as Fitzy said, it's a short off season, but it means you've gone deep into the comp, so we certainly can't complain.
No, we had a good year last year, and we're hoping this year will be a couple of steps even better. We're here mainly to talk about the Hall of Fame, which you're heavily involved in. We will get to a few other things as well. But before we do that, for those that don't know you, number one, we need to get them to follow you on Instagram, all things Cronulla Sharks.
Correct.
An amazing display of your collection, memorabilia, the things you get up to as club historian. And also, just for the people that didn't listen to the last episode, which you're on, which I don't know why they wouldn't, but if they haven't heard you before, Ash, I give us a brief history on how you became the club historian and the things you do.
So Dina approached me, I think, late 2022. There was sort of a need in that space. A lot of people were sort of doing their own sort of thing through social media in terms of sort of old footage, pictures, records, that sort of thing. But we sort of wanted a centralized database. Him and I had a chat. I pitched to him an idea of a digital asset management system in terms of a central sort of location where we can keep everything, which we didn't have. We had boxes of old negatives. We had a lot of stories. We had, some guys were still holding on to stats through the 70s, 80s, and 90s. I pitched to him an idea that I think we should get it all on a central database, which is at this point still under construction. It's a internal resource. Dino was more than happy. So for the last 3 years, I've been sort of chatting to a lot of the old guys, former past players, board members, supporters, and we've just got this really awesome database now that's really starting to take shape.
Excellent. And I'm sure the fruits of that will be apparent in the years to come. As you say, it's a work in progress. But what we do have is Tuesday, February 18th at Sharks Stadium, we have Hall of Fame 2025. And it's going to be an awesome night. A lot of greats are obviously going to be in the house. And it's open to supporters. If they want to get along, you can purchase tickets to that, it's going to be a great night. I guarantee you a great night, 6 till 9 o'clock approximately. I want to know, Ash, going back a couple of years, how did this all come about? And tell us about the process of how this Hall of Fame event has come to be.
Yeah, so as I said, I come on late 2022 and pretty early into my tenure, I met with Matt McGrath, a board member, who they had been looking at a Hall of Fame. So obviously, those that know, we have 6 Sharks Immortals. We have our life members that have all, life memberships, been nominations, that sort of thing's been ticking away over the history of the club. But we never really had that middle band for those players who weren't the best of the best, ETs, Millers, Pearce, but those blokes that have probably contributed more than life membership status. So Matt, along with Maury and Pat Burke, also on the board, did a heap of research, and credit to those guys. Shout out to them. It was a fantastic job prior to me coming on. They spoke to a lot of clubs, also a lot of other sporting industries sort of within New South Wales and Australia, and sort of nutted out a general criteria. They brought that to me. I had a bit of a look over it. I then did sort of my due diligence, touch base with a few clubs. When we sort of got to a criteria that we thought was pretty good, you do what you do. You chat with some of the greats. So I floated it with ET and Gab. When I say probably more than float, I sat down with ET and Gab Miller, who we know are Sharks Immortals, and spoke at length with both those guys over the criteria. And those blokes are both all awesome. As we know, they're still very much connected with the club and invested. And Gav has some very strong thoughts on this, and they were both in total endorsement of the criteria, which credit to Matt and the guys for that.
All right, and tell us a bit about the panel of experts that you gathered, or that were gathered by someone, to help us move along with the process.
Yeah. So then just going back a step.
Sure.
So once we then went to voted at the Constitution to get that criteria in. And we knew Dino, I think, had an idea pretty early on who he wanted in the panel. So I chaired the panel, and then we had Steve Mace, Dino. We had Lynn Gannon from the Members Council. We had Dave Riccio, good friend of the show, and Buzz Rothfield. And then our two legends on there were E.T. and Gav Miller.
It's a motley crew, if I dare say.
It was even as a fan to sit in that room as a chair was a little bit daunting to sit in the a room with that caliber of not only people but just there was plenty of Sharks knowledge in there, which was the main thing.
Yeah.
And they're all pretty strong voices, and everyone, there was a fair age gap, so we had most eras covered.
Okay, and so some sessions were had discussing who it should be. How did you get to the process of the quota and the standards, that all the things you had to tick off?
Yeah, so we sort of once that criteria was sort of settled on.
How did you get to the criteria?
So that Matt McGrath and those guys got to that. They formed that criteria, and that was I imagine it as part of their working group and the research that they did. So once it came to me. When I said came to me, once I was bought into that process, it was pretty tight.
Okay.
It was pretty good. But in order to pressure test that, we looked at, because as I was saying to you prior, we've actually had 3 teams. Like we had a Sharks team, a Leader did a team, and we had a team and a half century.
Right.
And there was no real criteria for those 3 teams. There were sort of 3 sort of working groups, committees, fans. I think there was the Leader one was a competition through the newspaper. So there was no real criteria anywhere for us to go off.
Yep.
So sort of once we set the criteria, we then pressure tested against those teams to see, all right. So I think it wasn't too many, because as you'd be aware, a lot of players would jump across the 3 teams.
Yep.
Look at those guys and say, all right, if these guys were to be eligible, which they are now, everyone was eligible for the Hall of Fame, who would meet the criteria? And most of them did meet the criteria.
Okay.
So that's sort of how we fell where we fell in terms of the criteria.
Now, before we go any further, for those that don't know, can you either off your run sheet or just top of your head, can you tell us what the criteria is?
Yeah, so the criteria is the player has to have demonstrated exceptional performance on or off the field. The player is an international test match representative, including World Cup matches. The player has played in state of origin or a state representative. The player has to have played 100 first-grade games for the club or won a premiership. The player has been the recipient of a Dally M medal or NRL recognised award, like a Dally M positional award, Proven Summons medal, Rothman's medal, Ken Stephen, or Monty Porter Club Player of the Year winner.
And 4 of the 5.
Correct.
5 of the 6. Yes. Yep. Okay. So that is challenging, because of course, I've got guys at the top of my head just screaming out, and I'm trying to work it out. And some of those guys, as I'm sure you've been through the process, don't quite make that quota. Tell us about how challenging it was. And just as a spoiler, there's no spoilers. There's no revealing. So don't either worry about that or don't get upset that we're not going to say anything more. But how did you and your crew go about picking the players, in the sense of, was there a few kind of, I'm not sure about this, a few debates, a few votes, or was it all pretty clear cut once you did the math? Yeah.
So as the chair of the committee, I turned up for our meeting the day we chose nominees with, I think, about 15 names.
Uh-huh.
And of those 15 names, there were 3 or 4 that didn't make the criteria, but I wanted to bring them just to show them. Yep.
Did you guys have an absolute concrete, solid maximum amount of players you were able to choose?
No, we did not. No, no.
Okay.
We wanted to keep this open, and if we felt you were, because it's 55 years worth of, some guys have.
So you didn't walk in going, it's 5 only?
No.
But obviously you couldn't have 50.
Correct.
Okay. Yep. Sorry, go on.
Yeah. So we walked in. So I provided to the committee, say, a group of 15 names. 2 or 3 on there were ineligible, but I wanted to put them on to show to the committee this is the strength of the criteria.
Yeah.
Because I knew those names would come up. Like I said, we're not going to any spoilers, but there are blokes who have been across those other teams, great clubmen who unfortunately just didn't meet the criteria. But I wanted to put those names forward to show them. And Gav Miller hit the nail on the head when I sent him. He goes, this should be an elite group.
Yeah.
He said, if this, because there was talk of lowering the number of games. And that's when he goes, well, then if everyone can get in, it's not that special, is it? And that's a great point.
Yes. So it is possible to be on this list with less than 100 games for the Sharks, but you're going to have to tick every other box.
If you don't tick, you have to be a premiership winner. Would be would in that
that's
category.
That's what I'm smiling about.
Yeah.
2016. Here we go behind us.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
So we turn up on the day with the.
That's not a spoiler, by the way. It's just me being silly.
Yeah, and as I said, there was a lot of Sharks knowledge in the room.
Yes.
And Sharks passion.
Yes.
So once we sort of got through the formalities of I sort of laid out what our role was and the expectation there that day. And I said I was a little bit overawed. So Dino sort of stepped in and going, all right, well, we're here. So let's select. I want it done now. So I sort of had it in my mind that it would sort of be an introductory meeting. We'd give the names, everyone would go home, and
he's a businessman.
And Dino's like, no, we're here. All right, put the names up and let's go. And we got to the list pretty quickly.
Yeah,
we got to the guys.
Okay.
Because obviously we had 5 that were straight in, our immortals.
So talk about those legends.
Yeah. So we got our 5 immortals. So this is also a bit of whilst we're inducting 6 guys in the Hall of Fame, it's a bit of a cleanup process.
Yeah. And
we want that pyramid approach where we've got the 3 tiers. We've got our life members, Hall of Fame immortals. So the first thing we've got to do is make sure those guys that are immortals that missed out on because we never had a Hall of Fame come straight back in. So those guys come back down with the 6 new.
And remind our younger viewers,
so we've got
who they are.
E.T., Steve Rogers, and Gavin Miller. They were the first 3 inducted. Then later on, we had Tommy Bishop and Greg Pearce.
Okay, beautiful. Legends.
So 5. There's no dispute. They're 5 absolute Sharks legends.
No dispute. The thing I love about this, Ash, and I'm repeating myself from a previous episode, and I'll probably do it for the next 10 episodes, but there's no right and wrong here.
Correct.
Like you may have selected someone and someone in the crowd would go, whoa, I didn't see that coming. But it doesn't mean that you're wrong, for starters. And also they're not wrong for sort of thinking, oh, I'm not sure about that. It all comes about, you've got the facts and figures. They meet the criteria. The criteria is there. And if they meet it, they're eligible. And then.
That's correct. And look, there'll be, I don't shy away from the fact there'll be a lot of emotion and opinion on the night.
Yes.
But I think sort of the next day and the days after, people will go home, and if they choose to do their own research on 1 or 2 of the people that are inducted, they'll be like, actually, yeah, that individual has contributed a lot more than I thought.
They won't need to, because the research and facts and figures will be demonstrated on the night. It'll be probably on the website the next day. I mean, it's all very black and white. It's exciting. It's something that, as you hinted at, has probably been coming for a while, hence the gathering and doing this. And it's what we need to do. And I think in the last 5 years or so, through the Old Boys Day, people like Kylie Lucas, yourself, Benny Ross, there's a bunch. They're really trying to get that history back into the club. I mean, our fan base is obviously much like our show. It's like from young to the elderly. But yeah, we have like teenagers, even 20-year-olds who don't know our history or haven't surrounded themselves with it. So this is a great history lesson. And yeah, it's going to be awesome. I was really excited when I read about it. I'm getting more excited as we get closer to the event. Now, the event's going to be pretty cool. Like, there's a lot of things planned, which you will see on the night if you choose to come along. We can tell you there's going to be musical entertainment from Sharks fanatic, friend of the show, Dylan Wright, who played last night, actually, in the hometown. And there's just going to be Sharks, dare I say, can I say the word immortality? Probably should wrong thing to say, but there's going to be Sharks legends everywhere you look. I dare say the current mob will be there too. Coach will be around. Like, it's going to be awesome. So if you feel like I'm spruiking too much about the night, I am, because you should go down there if you're able to, of course. If you're not able to, that's a different story. But it's going to be a great event. Tell us more about Hall of Fame. What can you tell us?
Well, I'd just like to say on that note, I mean, there is a massive buzz at the moment I mean, given it, look, we go deep into the finals.
You're talking about the window. We'll get to the window.
Not even the window, just the feel, the vibe at the moment. I guess, yeah, you can label it a window, but in terms of,
yeah, you're right.
We go deep last year. We lose to the team that, no one's beaten in half a decade. We add to that side arguably the best prop in the world.
Yes.
Who's just come off the back of the Four Nations where he's just absolutely run rampant against pretty top opposition. He's down there. I've been down. He's training the house down.
Thank you for saying that.
We got Vegas on the, we're on the cusp of Vegas. What a time to be a Shark supporter. Like it's just
great.
flying.
Yeah, it's great.
So to kick off the season with this,
yeah.
I mean, having said that, just quickly, I went to the launch, this year's launch, the culture, amazing.
A very unique launch.
And I've been to a few, and yeah, I sort of probably couldn't, and this is no disrespect to the club or anything they've done before, but I probably couldn't differentiate between the others.
Yeah.
They're all sort of a similar sort of setup. The players got to come out.
The table's there. It's going to be a great year. Yep.
But this one, it was just completely different. And I actually bumped into one of the Matthews Cup boys yesterday through work. And he said, Xavier Peacock, and he said it was unbelievable. He goes, it was just so good. He goes, we're all buzzing the next day. So
yeah.
And for those sort of guys in that, to see their role models, but also your Fafittas and some of those older players involved in that, that cultural respect across not only their culture, but all the other cultures. It's just amazing. Yeah, they're doing great things down there.
Yeah, whoever's responsible for that particular event should be very proud of themselves. It was just remarkable. And I think you'll see other teams follow that pretty quick. If they haven't already, like next week or whatever.
Yeah.
But you're right. Like, it's a hell of a preseason. We got Hall of Fame 2 trials in Vegas. Well, Vegas I'm calling preseason just because, Hall of Fame. All right. Is there anything else you want to talk about Hall of Fame while I got you?
No, I do look forward to discussions after with anyone. Man. Anyone can reach out to me.
Yes.
Through any of the socials. And I'm more than happy to chat with anyone about it. I love talking Sharks, and I don't need to talk about why they got chosen because, as you said, it's pretty straightforward. This is a bit of a spoil. There's no controversy about it.
No.
There's no one in there that people say, I can't believe he got in there. They're all very worthy recipients.
Are you able to say anything about future events? I'm guessing there'll be more Hall of Fames down the track.
Yeah. This is so the criteria was voted on at the AGM, so it's in the Constitution now. So we will, there'll be certainly. We've certainly set out no number, no requirements in relation to what, when, how many.
Yeah.
But it will certainly be an ongoing process moving forward.
Should point out that friend of the show, got a lot of friends of the show, Andrew Voss and Vonnie Sampson. Vonnie Sampson is going to be hosting the event. So some great experts in their field there for sure, and very personal people. It's going to be a good night.
And just something and a bit of a spoiler for the listeners. We got 2 sponsors. I'll say one sponsor's
very. You're not going to get me in trouble, are you?
No. Okay. Very nostalgic connection to the club.
Oh.
So they've done really well. Yeah, they're sponsoring the event. So they're bringing a bit of retro back.
Okay, I like that. So
guys from our era.
Yes.
There's going to be some sort of cool stuff printed with the bit retro.
Okay, sounds good. Hopefully you haven't gotten us any trouble there. Hall of Fame. I'll see you down there, Ash.
Yeah, I'll be there. You'd be mad to miss it.
Yeah. Now, trials are coming up. We're playing the Warriors in the first trial of the year at Shark Park, Shark Stadium. It's on a Friday night. It's in a couple of weeks, and you can get down to that. If you're a member, you get in for free. You need to prove that you're a member, of course, to get in, but trials are always a lot of fun. And then week 2 is a Thursday night, the following Thursday night in Canberra, of all the most beautiful places in the world, Canberra. And that's going to be awesome too. I think you'll see your more stacked team that night, as per tradition. So a couple of games to look forward to on the local front, Cronulla and Canberra locations. And then Vegas is a couple of weeks later, game-wise. If you're traveling, it might be a bit earlier. Not everyone's traveling. I completely get that. Completely respect that. You, sir, are traveling?
I am.
You're sorted? You're booked?
Yeah, well, I jumped on real early.
Okay.
So I sort of, we sort of knew pretty early that we were going to Vegas. So
Yes.
we sort of started moving things around to make sure I wouldn't miss it. And I put my leave requests in at work. And yeah, it'll be once in a lifetime, won't it?
Yeah, you'd think so. It's going to be a lot of fun. A bunch of the show of SharkCast will be over there having some fun. So we'll hook up some, either official or non-official events, that's for sure. So keep an eye on our channels and just keep listening to the show, and we'll let you know about that. But it's going to be a lot of fun. We're there for some serious business, 2 points. Want to get the win. We haven't beaten this team, Penrith, for a while. I think of all places to do it, there's no cooler place than Vegas round one.
Can I just say, I don't think we could have got a better opponent, because I know I spoke to Fitzy not long after we got knocked out last year, and he was filthy. He just could not wait for the next crack. So when it was, because it was all the talk early was it was Cronulla Canberra.
Yep.
And when it was known that we were playing Penrith, I think there was few happier guys than Fitzy to get a crack at them so early too.
Yeah. And, people who listen to the show regularly, they know that I'm of the opinion that we should have won that game. And when I say should have, like basing it on what happened on that night, the Sharks really should have won by 4 points. Like they were doing everything right except for holding that ball. And if they play just a little bit better in Vegas, they'll get the win round one. For fans who are going, win, lose or draw, there's going to be fun had.
Yeah, correct.
But it'll be a bit more fun, 5% more fun if we win. We are going with the aim to win, and I think it gets the season off to a tremendous start.
Yeah. Oh, look, I went to Wigan for the World Club Challenge, and it was the trip of a lifetime up until about half time when it was very clear they weren't going to win. And then, you don't double guess yourself, but you sort of think this couldn't. Mind you, I was in Wigan. I think Vegas is going to be a bit different. But there is that thought. It just makes it better. And we did the road trip last year. We did Canberra, Melbourne, and I've done all those before. And the feeling you have when they win, especially against Melbourne,
that
must be similar feeling against
that must
Penrith.
have been unbelievable.
Yeah, it doesn't happen very often, and I liken it
but
to
just that circumstance.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, it was, but it's also like you go out to Brookvale, like they don't ever win at Brookvale.
Yeah.
So and we had this conversation because a few of the guys, we nearly blew that game. We only won by 2. If you're coming back from Brookvale and you've got 2 points, I don't care what's happened. You just take it and you run. I think that'll sort of be a similar thought in Vegas. It doesn't have to be pretty. I don't want to see entertainment. I don't want to see the ball thrown if it means we lose. Let's just get the job done and get back home.
And we will analyze that game to the absolute depths of analyzing. But you're right. A 1 point win is all we need over there.
That's it. Come back, and I think we've got the week off. Then we're up to Townsville, so they're
traveling. Yeah.
Yeah, and Fitzy said, look, he doesn't buy into the draw, and is very interesting what he said actually at the launch. He said, we see away games as fantastic because we get to go away.
Yeah.
We get to connect. That real bond and siege mentality.
They've proven that.
Yeah, and he's real happy with sort of how they do it now. So, yeah, I don't fear the draw.
He's not going to be happy with the second half of the draw because we don't leave the Shire, basically.
No, I saw that. Yeah, it's a good 6 or 8 week block there.
It's a bit longer, in Sydney. Like I think it's the second half of the draw. So, which is only right because the first half of the draw were all over the shop. So, it's going to be a great year coming up. I cannot wait. We're already into the thick of it. What else is going with you as far as historian work? I know you very much eye on the Hall of Fame, but what else is going on? What are you going to be working on?
Not a lot. I'm sort of chatting with Troy and those guys down there. Rob's obviously enjoying himself. He's gone over a bit early. Rob Willis gone over a bit early to America. But sort of thinking on what we can do, because obviously we had the weekly This Week in History last year, the weekly segment. So we can't roll that out again. We sort of exhausted that a bit last year. Okay. So we're sort of thinking what we can do this year. So if anyone's got any ideas or requests, certainly
people will have ideas.
Yeah, certainly sing out what you're after in sort of the history space. Like Troy's fantastic down there. He's always open to ideas, and he has some great ideas himself. So yeah, sing out if you can think of something we can do in that history space.
There is so much history.
Yeah.
You're not going to have a problem.
No. I'm looking forward to it.
I posted a thing today. I didn't do it yesterday for different reasons, but is it 30 years since the Australian-made concert?
Yeah. Yeah, we've had a few of those down there. Al Wilson got some funny stories about that.
Al Wilson's got funny stories. Full stop. As I found out a couple months ago.
Yeah,
what a great man.
Yeah, the players were all given buckets on the day and told to go out and collect as much money as you can at those concerts.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Would have been an interesting time at Cronulla.
Hall of Fame. Obviously, there were guys that you probably thought before you did your math, favorites of yours, guys that just ring in your memory.
Yeah.
You thought, oh, they're a shot.
Yeah.
Were you disappointed in yourself that there were some guys, and we won't mention any names at all?
No, very. Yeah. Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because as clear cut as some of them are, there's other guys that would go close from what I can work out. But you actually being the pen and paper of it, you must have just gone, oh, that's a shame.
But I was more nervous when I met with ET and Gav.
Yeah.
And they were so strong on the criteria. And then I had to confront the elephant in the room and go, all right, well, having said that, A, B, C, and D won't make it.
Yeah.
And Gav was sort of like, well, that's fair enough. And they shouldn't be. Whereas sort of ET was a little bit more, oh, now you sort of put it that way.
Yep.
A little bit more diplomatic. But yeah, Gav was like, well, if they don't make it, they don't make it. That's...
Yeah, right.
But no, definitely there are players. But similar to your sort of self and your love affair with Nick Graham, there are guys that I've loved sort of at Cronulla that probably won't get into this. And as I said, we'll discuss it further after.
Yep.
But you think they were like guns. Like they were great players, contributed plenty.
Yeah. There is like a list of 50 in my head. I'm not going to name names, who I'm thinking probably won't make this cut, who in particular with your on and off the field category are like, that's Sharks immortality to me. Some of the guys I'm thinking of.
Yeah.
They may have played for their city or country, so to speak, in that context, in that fixture. But that's not good enough, and I understand.
No, have bled for the club, and
a lot of bleeding.
A lot of those, that old analogy, bled for the club, done anything for the shirt.
But yeah, and obviously that doesn't take away from that. Like that'll. If you played 1 minute of President's Cup, in our eyes, you're online.
And
you're
that's
a legend. Like,
and those guys we speak of, which we'll speak later, their contribution is not lost on all of us.
I'm sure
it's not lost on sort of from Dino right down to the Matthews Cup guys that are coming through now, because Fitz is very much on that connection in the old boys' days. So while they may not, be inducted, what they've done for the club is certainly not lost on anyone.
I do think the idea that not everyone can get one rather than everyone getting one is a positive, and people who listen to my spiels might be surprised by that notion, but I actually think that works in the favor of the club and the fans following this, because as we said, there's hundreds of guys who could get that ring, that jacket, whatever it's going to be. And it's a jacket, by the way. But not everyone can do that. Like it wouldn't be pointless. It'd be a great event. Like if we gave it'd be a great event.
That's right.
But there is some top tier people who have played for this club, and they should be recognized. Yeah,
that's exactly right. And that's why you've got that criteria, don't you? So it sort of takes out the opinion out of it.
Yes, it does.
Otherwise, especially when you've got, the panel that we had with sort of Dave, Lynn, Mace, Dino, those guys, you're going to have 7 different opinions. So how do you form the team based on opinion? Which is what's happened, I think, in the past with the team of the half century and those sort of teams will be debated till the end of time. But I think this would be a lot more there'll be more acceptance because there is a criteria.
Wasn't one of them done in 2017 or 18?
Yeah.
So
17, I think Maloney was
in there, And we love Jimmy, and he, in my eyes, won as a comp.
Yes.
So I'm not saying he shouldn't be there, like we've been saying all along. Is there right or wrong? But Jimmy's in there after 2 years.
Val was in there. Val was one of the wingers. Yep, Val.
Mate, if Val doesn't get a jacket in this Hall of Fame, you know that I'll be singing out from where I'm going to be, and I'll be like, you've left one guy.
All right. Well, we'll see.
It's not to say he's not going to get one. We're not saying that.
We'll see. We'll see. All will be revealed. Grab your tickets.
Can you believe he's a dragon?
I know.
That really breaks my heart.
Yeah.
Go to America broke my heart.
Yeah.
North Queensland broke my heart. This just shatters it in pieces.
Yeah. Yeah, he's one of those. It was similar to when Jack Bird left, you're just like, I guess the only difference is sort of Val went on and was sort of a little bit more successful than Jack. But same as when Jack left, you can't help but think what they would have achieved had they stayed at Cronulla. Had they been, and Penrith's like the blueprint of those keeping those guys together,
which we've seen now.
Yeah.
You know, with less success in the terms of premierships or whatever, but our team's been together for probably 2 or 3 years, probably another 2 or 3 more years to go.
Yeah.
And so we're trying to follow that blueprint.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's just it's interesting how the world works. And
Yeah.
you know, Kieran, who's on the show, he told me he saw Val in, I don't know, Bunnings or somewhere.
Like, yeah, it's not right, is it?
Too much.
How do you see them going this year, the Dragons?
I think that they bought better players, but I mean, you know, Damien Cook, who I love, I think he's a great player, but he's at the end of his career.
Yeah.
Gutherson, I think, is a very all-round really good player. I don't think he's a great player, but he's a very, very good player, but he's the end of his career. I mean, Val, I think, still got some life in him, but he's second half of his career. So there'll be improvement from last year. I think the Flano blueprint will soak in a little bit more, but I don't really, I'm not being annoying to them. I don't fear them. Yeah.
He followed a similar model to what he did at Cronulla, didn't he? When he sort of brought Heinington and those guys. It's sort of those hard heads, plenty of games in them.
But the next progression to that is he's going to have to bring in the Maloneys and whoever else that he brought in.
Yeah.
Because I mean, you know, Chris Heinington, you know, legend.
Yeah.
But forward at the end of his career.
Yeah.
Then they brought in Maloney.
Yeah.
Barber moved around.
Yeah.
So there's a bit of magic there. So I think for him to achieve that with what you're saying, there's the next progression in the years to come is going to be pretty good.
Yeah. Yeah.
I worry about the cap too. I mean, I don't know about their cap, but giving, like, for example, Gutherson all that money, like, I worry about things like that.
It's just I liken it to when, for our older listeners, when Michael Speechley left Cronulla and ran out the next year in a Para jersey. And Magor in the Penrith jersey, it won't look the same with Gutho not in the Parramatta jersey. You know, like when Farah left and went to Souths, and Glenn Stewart did the same and went to Souths. Like, it's just
that's right.
They're blokes you
don't even remember that.
No, for a decade you've seen them in that for that team on all the team's promotional stuff, everything they throw out through their sponsorship and all that, and then all of a sudden they're big call for them to get rid of Gutherson.
It is
not get rid of him, move him on.
Well, I don't hate it. Like, I just think that if he's chewing up that much cap, I don't hate it from a neutral point of view. As a fan, I'm not sure how I'd feel. It depends how I feel about him as a fan. But, you know, we might be looking at saying goodbye to a couple of guys in the next few years. So we better get used to it. I don't think it'll be a mass turnover, but
well, Jack Williams and Royce, you know, a bit of a, it'd be hard to watch those boys go around in different jerseys.
Yeah, particularly Royce. Like, I saw like one of his videos the other day, and he was G'ing up the Tigers fans. So it just didn't sit right with me, just because I think he's a great guy and he was a Shark. But
top bloke,
I understand how it all works, and that's just how it is, right?
You
can't really change that, unfortunately.
No, but I think once we see AFB run out, I think we'll be
right.
He's just a monster.
Yeah.
He's just, I mean, all the talk is how Brayley's going to play off the back of him.
Yeah.
But I'm looking to see sort of that once, you know, he's sort of the tip of that spear once Hazelton and Toby when he's back, and you know, Kafusi go off the back of that platform. It's going to be.
I think if he can stay healthy, BHU is going to have a monster year.
Yeah,
I really do, because of the 1-2 punch.
Yeah.
Like, we know he can do it, and now it's not all up to him. Like, before he got injured, he was kind of our number one prop.
Yeah. But he finished the season so well too. So we went out and watched that final series of the Jets, and him and Big Tukes were just
they're putting in
too good for that grade. You know, they were. So to see, BHU come back.
And he looks, as you would have seen, he looks pretty lean.
Yeah.
And ready to rock. He's got a great attitude, and we said it on our Christmas show. It's one of our wishes for him just to have a dynamite year, because he's just at his best. He's one of the best props in the game, and he's really put in for the club. He's been through a lot on and off the field, and to be where he is now, I think it's all going to be okay.
Fingers crossed. He's a bit of a run without injuries, stays fit, and he's just back to his best.
How many times have you been to Vegas?
This has been number 3.
Okay, this is my 4th. Yeah. Okay, you're a bit of a veteran.
Yeah. never to watch a footy game, so it'll be interesting. A lot of talk around how the NRL do it with the fan day and that sort of thing. So it's just one of those things. Before I've gone, I've got this phobia or this fear that I'm going to miss out on something.
Oh,
so I scroll all like what's going on
like an
here?
event in
Vegas.
Yeah,
because there's just so much going on. So I saw the NRL run sheet, and they've got like a combine and nines. There's a lot.
You might need to miss something. Yeah.
Well, you have. Yeah.
Yeah.
So there's going to be a lot going on.
I know that the Fremont event, based on last year, was chockers. It'll be the same, if not more, this year. So I think if you're planning on going to that, and this is me just loosely speaking without authority on the subject, you might want to get there earlier than the event starts to get a spot, see your favorite player or whatever, because I think they might be turning away some people as big as the location is.
Yeah, I think we're actually going to hockey that night, the ice hockey, so we might miss that one. But even so, I wouldn't mind getting out, seeing the boys sort of train in that sort of. So yeah, there'll be plenty of stuff to do.
Yes.
Very exciting.
It is exciting. Well, Ash, we appreciate you coming on the show. We always love having you on. Appreciate your insight into the Hall of Fame too. So we encourage everyone to get down there. If you can't get down there, there's different ways you'll be able to follow the night, and definitely after that there'll be a lot of analysis, officially and unofficially. We're going to be down there, TBC and what we're going to be doing, but we'll be down there loosely podcasting, potentially streaming, whatever they let us do, we'll be doing. So we appreciate the Sharks' help there. Our friends at the ET Stand podcast will be there as well. So you won't go without as far as your, dare I say, unofficial channels go. But we know that Gary and Troy and Rob and all those people will do a great job for the Sharks. Can't wait, Ash.
Pumped.
You got your suit ready?
I haven't. That's on my to-do list this week. Get all that sorted. I'm trying to find I've got a couple of old Sharks ties from the 80s and 90s, so I'll get them pressed. Yeah.
I've got I can picture I've got a more of a 2000s one, I want to say. It's not amazing, but yeah, we'll have to work all that out. But
to be fair, no one will be looking at us, Sam.
No, I wouldn't even dare suggest that they would even know we're in the house, to be honest, because
the caliber of play.
There goes that guy. It's going to be awesome.
You're star spotting.
Yes. So we spruiked it, and because we want to spruik it, not because we have to. So we will talk to you again soon on SharkCast Pod. Heaps of stuff planned. Stay with us. You know what's going on, in the sense that we're going to be in your grill all year long. So can't wait for it. And until then, I'm going to unprofessionally just lean over and hit end record. Ash, all things Cronulla Sharks on the Insta, and up.